Tonight's speaker really needs no introductions, but I'm going to do it anyway. He was first certified in 1987. He went on to establish the Sea Devils in 1997. And about a year later, he decided he needed a whole lot of gear and resources to be able to support all of the trips. So he opened Dive Connections. He's a PADI Master Instructor, has been on the board of directors for the Philippe Cousteau Foundation. He helped establish Lake Rawlings, was on the board there, our current training facility, and where we head for diver days, and is our resident fish ID expert. So please join me in welcoming Chip Earle. I went ahead and put all the names of the fishes that I knew on the screen here. Yeah, I think I got them all right. You can let me know if I missed one.
Turn it off. Great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I have done this presentation a couple of times, I think, for the club over the course of the year. I kind of want to change it up a bit. But I'm going to rely on you to help me do that. The presentation is really sort of designed as a teaser for our Fish ID course. We're going to run through like the quiz that we generally give at the conclusion of the course. And in the process, we're going to talk about the different fish families. So I want you to be thinking about this as we talk about these fish. If you've seen anything like it, or you have any other fish that you particularly think is cool, or that you had any interaction with, or saw that was funny, or, and if you do, just raise your hand or blurt it out, and let's talk about it a little bit. Let's make this as an interactive community as we possibly can. Okay, so let's see if I can work this thing. All right, Fish ID. Do I know you? When I first started going scuba diving, I just was faced, like probably many of you all are, with a plethora, cornucopia of fish. They were just fish. They were big fish, small fish, fish everywhere, redfish, bluefish, all that stuff. Right? And I thought, well, gosh, this is like almost overwhelming. It's impossible to know all these fish. But I found that if I came back on like a second dive trip or something, I said, oh, I remember that. That's a yellowtail snapper. I mean, they're everywhere, right? They're in every place. They're like the goats of the Caribbean. So, but it was cool because it meant that I was back with that fish or with that fish family or whatnot. And so if I learned to find one fish, I knew that one fish was not any one of the other fish. So you don't have to know them all, just know one, right? And then you turn around and you figure, oh, well, know what that fish is. And you look it up. Now I know two fish, right? And now it becomes your buddy, and you go looking for it. Whenever you see it, or you see it again, you think, oh, this was really cool, you know? And eventually you build up a syllabus, a dictionary, whatever, a database of a fish that you know. And it's kind of cool to go back, to me it is, and just sort of say, hello, I know you. So that's what the point of all this about, okay? There are some 21,000 species in the world, 4,000 inhabiting coral reefs, and in the Caribbean there's about 650. So I certainly don't know all of them. And even the ones that I see in the books, there are ones that I've never seen before. So it's still opportunity for me whenever I go diving to find a fish that I've never seen before, which is pretty cool, okay? I mean, I haven't been diving like since I was 12 or anything like that. I didn't get into diving until 1987, and thanks to guys like Bruce Gray, who was my instructor back then, 1987. So that only makes it what, 36 years, 36, 37, 38 or something like that. So, but it's been a long time, but there's still always stuff out there that I can find too. So most of the common species fall in between about 30 to 50 families. And that's not so bad. In fact, if you break it down a little further, maybe you can find 10, 15, 20 families that you know. And then once you know the families, you can identify the species normally by just describing it. Okay. We can distinguish the families by their size, their shape, their color, fin configuration. I mean, we all know those ones that have the ones go like this, right? We'll talk about those. So you know that's particularly different. The shape of the mouth, how they look, whether they're above the reef, swimming around, or whether they're down on the reef or in the reef, their habitat and behavior, and how they propel themselves. You know, like we know how parrotfish sort of just do this number or sort of waddle around the reef. Okay, just pretty cool. So let's talk about some of these. We have these disc and oval shaped fish. They're generally about the size of your hand. They're just about this big, and they are the butterfly fish, angelfish, and sturgeonfish. The angelfish are bigger; they're more like platter size, and there's about 4 or 5 species, I guess, in the Caribbean. And who knows what an angelfish is, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite angelfish?
Yes.
Queen. The queen?
No.
Okay, queen angelfish. What?
I like the grays.
You like the grays? I'm with you. What's cool about the grays?
No, I just think
You
they're
don't see
unique and,
You don't see it very often.
yeah, they're less common.
Yeah, the gray angelfish is not as common sometimes as the French angelfish, which has got all the sparkly yellow on it. I think it's a little bit gaudy for my taste, you know what I mean? So I'm looking for something a little bit simpler. But the gray angelfish, they look just little gray scales all down the side. But if you look at their pectoral fins, when they flip them forwards, it's yellow, all yellow down the top. And so it's killed it. Wow. Throw it forward. Let me see that thing. It's really good.
I also like the white,
Pardon?
the white on the lips.
Yeah, the little column there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It's so
angelfish nibble on the reef, okay? So they're not really eating the coral, they're eating algae and stuff like that, and copepods and stuff like that. So they're really pretty cool. We have silvery fish. We all know the barracudas, the great barracudas. Anybody got a barracuda story?
Yes.
I do.
I've had a barracuda follow me. We were in a and I was in Burlington. And there was just myself and the dive master and one other person. And we were usually barracudas like, okay, there's a barracuda. This guy followed us for a whole 45 minutes. And he was like on a tail and just looking at us, and we're like going, and we had stopped to look at something, and he came up and he just got in front of us, and he just opened his mouth huge and went, boom, and you just felt that sucker, and then he swam passed away, but we're all like going, oh! It was.
Yeah.
I always talk to my class when I'm teaching open water. Choked up today. But there's a slide in there that talks about if you see an aggressive fish or what. And I always talk to them about, hey, you roll off the boat and you do maybe a little roll down there. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And the first thing you see is this 5-foot barracuda hanging out underneath the boat, right? And you go, holy crap! And you think, well, it's aggressive. Well, it's not aggressive. It's just doing what it's doing, right? Now you see a couple of little fish chasing each other around the forehead. That's aggression. It may not threaten you at all, but it's aggression. And that is the cool part when you see fish, is that little bit that they're doing, that's the important part of their day. That's the day that makes that day a success or a failure for them. So if you can take the time to understand kind of what's going on, or surmise or whatever, just study a little bit, you're now looking at something that's pretty engaging and can be pretty dramatic and powerful. So that's pretty cool. I've got a good barracuda stories too. I'm going to save that till somebody asks after we're finished. Okay? All right, so we got the barracuda jacks. There's tons of jacks, right? How can you? What's one distinguishing feature of a jack?
I was thinking of the tail.
Huh? It's got a fluorescent. It's a what do you say? Crescent tail, right? Yeah, sure does. What about down the midline?
It's kind of dotted.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like Jurassic. it's these little like scales down the side that just pop out like studs or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
So anytime you see something like that, you know that it's in the jack family, okay? And then we have tarpon, bonefish, you see a lot of bonefish in Bonaire, right? All in the shallows, pretty cool. They're one of the
Tarpon are nice.
fastest fish out there. They are extremely fast. I think they're faster than the barracuda, actually. Pretty cool. And then there's spade fish you're gonna see a lot of down in Beaufort. A lot of the stuff down there. See right down at Beaufort. Sloping heads, tapered bodies. These are indicative of grunts and snappers. Why do they get their names grunts and snappers?
They actually make the noise.
The noise that they make when the fishermen
Yeah.
pull them up on deck. And then one's snapping, one's one making a grunt, and that's how they got their name. So it's not really all that scientific, right? You know, Darwin messed up a little bit here. Small ones. Now we're talking about the really small ones, the damselfish, the chromis, and the hamlets. Does anybody have a story about a damselfish or a hamlet or anything like that? No dragon stories with the hamlets?
Well, damselfish,
Yeah.
coming up to the anemone where that damselfish was, aggressive, they come right for you.
Oh, yeah.
They really come out outside of how big they are. They think they're like the biggest dog on there.
They can be very pugnacious, absolutely. They can come out and like bite your ear like the bluegill down at the quarry can do. I've seen little damselfish, they tend to, particularly those bicolor damsels, the bicolor damsels that are like, they're typically just black and white, but then they have gold along the bottom too. If you'll see them in a hierarchy, they tend to, the more aggressive ones, the kings tend to gravitate towards the higher portions. And some of them are pugnacious enough that they'll come out and want to get at you. If you put your hand down like this, I've had one come up and hold a second. And turn around, back in, they give you a fin slap. And then spin off. Really pretty cool. When you haven't lived till you've had a damselfish fin slap. Okay.
I've had damselfish, I think it was on the Great Barrier Reef, come up and get right in my face and like turn and like their eye, looking right at my eye, look at me and then like poke at me. I don't know if I was too close to their house or their babies or what, but like, go away, get back, you're too close. I don't know, it was
And I
definitely,
swear when they do that, they have eyelashes.
definitely communicate.
Yeah.
And when I didn't get it from the eyeball, and then it was the poke. My-
Well, they can be very pretty. They're like mini angelfish, and they have the eyes that sort of stick out like this. They almost look like they have eyelashes, and they make a nice little curve in their body and all. And you get some really good pictures if you take the time. They don't pose real well, but if you wait and work for them and get lucky, you can get some good pictures out of them. Hamlets. Anything about the hamlets? They have a little slightly different body shape. Instead of being more round, they're a little bit more like that. They're more like a trapezoid type looking thing. Okay, kind of fun on the bottom, like this. They are unique to the Caribbean. They do not exist in the Pacific, which is kind of interesting in that the Pacific is the older ocean. So the hamlet, it says, became as a species after the isthmus closed between North America and South America. Okay, so they're only in the Caribbean. There's all sorts of different species of them, and hybrid species of them, because they will interbreed. They're not like official species that they only do with one or the other, and they are also hermaphrodites. They will act the male in some cases and the female in the other cases. Pretty interesting shot. Okay, let's see if you can go find some of these really cool, very pretty fish. You also know the big ones, the heavy lips, sort of big groupers, sea bass, soapfish, basslets. Anybody got a story about a friendly grouper? Huh? Grouper?
They all seem friendly.
Pardon?
They all seem friendly.
They all seem friendly.
Big and have a bit.
They do. You go down to Cayman, there's a lot of friendly groupers down there. They used to come up and just like follow you around the dive site. That would be kind of fun. They, back in the day, they allowed us to sort of, the protocol was okay, you could come scratch under their chin and stuff like that. And I've got a picture of one, he like right up underneath somebody else's arm like this, he just poked his head up. Today, we tried not to touch the fish if we can, because we're afraid we might work off some of that protective skin covered mucus that they have and make them more susceptible to diseases. I have seen groupers that have sore spots on them that maybe that's the cause of it. I don't really know. I'm not really an ichthyologist or big, conservationist or whatnot, or really totally into it. I just like going and seeing them. So that's my credentials for being here. Anything else? Soapfish basslets. You guys know what a basslet is? Ever seen those things that are like blue and gold right up underneath the reef, on the shallow reef? Those are referred to as fairy basslets. Okay, and the cool thing about them is that they always swim with their belly towards the substrate. So if they're on the side of a reef, they're up and down like this. Okay, if they're underneath something, they're like this. Okay. If you're on the bottom, you're like that. So it's kind of weird. So there's a story from a friend of mine, ours actually, Christina Zanato. She's spoken here before. She talks about going out to a place called, or the name of the second, probably Mermaid's Lair or something like that. At any rate, we went out there. I wasn't with her at the time. She was there with a bunch of students. And she said, she was pointing to these fish that are up underneath this coral head. And they were all like up in here, like this, swimming upside down. So she wrote on her slate, look, swim upside down. And she turned around, the students are all. Shows a limitation of what conversation is down there. One of my favorite fish is the black cap basslet. You know, we find them 80, 90 feet, 100 feet, 110. Except in Cozumel, where they become 5 inches long, 6 inches long, and they're up in the shallows. There's probably other places too, but that's what I think. They're really pretty. Hopefully, see what they show at some point presentation. Then, of course, our swim with your pectoral fins and obvious scales, and those pretty much are the parrotfishes, which you're going to see a lot. If they're kind of ovate, like kind of round, elongated, they're probably a parrotfish. If they're kind of more like cigar shaped, then they're probably a wrasse. Now that you need red-headed wrasses, blue-headed wrasses. Hogfish, great eating. If you're like to eat fish, hogfish is really, really good. That's what a lot of the natives are still looking for when they're going fishing down there. And they're normally along the bottom and in the sand. They're blowing up stuff, trying to find little things to eat in the sand. And if you look at them, they throw their dorsal fin up. There's like 3 spines that come up like that. They're not spines. They're like just part of it. Like I say, our spines, but they're not like going to poke you or anything. But they're really pretty cool. And then razorfish. You don't see many of these, but razorfish is about 3 or 4 species, and they're normally on the bottom. And if they feel threatened, they just literally dive into the sand. They turn and they go right into the sand, and they're gone. They didn't go in a hole; they just dove into the sand, which is pretty cool as they get their name. So you may see some of those. Pardon?
You've got more. I was gonna ask about the gobies and blennies.
Oh, yeah, gobies and blennies. So we have what we call reddish with big eyes, and those are cardinal fish and squirrel fish. They tend to have very big eyes and tend to be reddish in color. Why do you think they have big eyes?
You can see in the dark. Better to see you with.
They're only about this long. Some of them are little cardifish can be like, like this or something like that. But they're nocturnal, so let more light in, so they can see better at night. And so we find them a little bit more active at night. Normally you find them like stuffed up underneath a reef somewhere, or hiding up inside of a wreck somewhere. That is pretty cool. They're really pretty neat. Then, as Roy said, gobies and blennies, dragonets, and jawfish. I don't see any dragonets, I'm not really, don't need my pressure down, but to find gobies and blennies all over everywhere. One of my favorite is down in Bonaire, and it's down at the, you find them at the entryways on the docks. They're all over the steps and whatnot. They're red lip blennies. And they look like they've got lipstick on. And they stand there, they got sort of brownish heads. We'll see one of those in another part of the presentation. And they kind of look light body, and they like all blennies, they tend to sit in a curved method.
You're good.
It went away and came.
You guys tired?
They tend to sit with their bodies curved. Well, you see a little fish on the bottom that is curved in the way he's sitting. He is probably a blenny. Okay? And there's things like arrow blennies that sit, and they're like right there at the reef. They're hovering, they're not doing anything. You got their tail that crooked like this. You sort of, if you disturb them, they go snap, they go like 6 feet and stop on a dime, boom. That's an arrow blenny, pretty cool. Let's see, gobies. Gobies tend to be on the bottom as well. And they tend to be rigid in their body shapes. They say that you can look at their dorsal fins, and they're basically bifurcated. There's a spot in the middle, the front part of the dorsal fin that's across the back, and one around one near the shoulders and one down here to the back. And you can put your finger between the two theoretically, as you go between the two. So that's how they got their name. Hey. Gobies. Anybody got a goby story? Gobies? No? Or blenny stories? One of my favorite fish is the jawfish. We know what a jawfish is? No? No, so jawfish, the most particular ones down there, the most usual ones you're going to find are called yellow-headed jawfish. And they are communal. They form up in packs and tribes or whatever the heck they call them down there. They're everywhere. There was a place down in Grand Bahama, and it was I don't think of the terrible names anymore. It's going to get chase me, but there was a place down there, Papa Docks, that's what it was. And there was an old shipwreck down there, kind of tore up, and the Badger and whatnot, another boats there. But off beyond the Badger in the sand was this entire colony of jawfish. Now jawfish, it starts a little tiny, but he gets to be about maybe 3 or 4 inches long, the bigger ones, okay, something like that. And they build a burrow. I thought, well, that's really cool. You see these fish coming in and out of these burrows. But one time I got the opportunity to watch a jawfish build one. We were at the same place here in the Grand Bahama, and I went down and I saw it early in the week, and for whatever reason we were able to come back to that spot every afternoon. And by the second day or third day, I was like, let's go back there, let's go back there, let's go back there. So I'd go down and I'd watch how this guy had progressed on building his burrow. And it's pretty amazing. A little fish like this hollows out funnel, I'd say, cone, about maybe 8 inches wide, down about 6 inches deep. He excavates the entire thing, just with his mouth. Then he finds something down there that looks like it can be solid, okay? And he uses that like a rock or something, and he uses that to start putting back with little rocks, like building a chimney all the way back up. And as he builds a chimney, he mortars them by throwing sand into it, okay? Until he finally gets up at the top, and now the whole the triangle shape, the cone, is all filled back in with his little chimney all the way up. Now he can go back down, and he excavates around and underneath that little piece to create himself a little burrow. Amazing. So you can watch these guys come up, and they'll like, spit out some sand, come back down, come back a little bit, spit out some more sand. It's pretty cool. Now, if you really want to get into it, jawfish, they mate presumably for life. I don't assume they live all that long to mate much more than that. But the female will build a burrow, and the male will build a burrow. And then they will build a nuptial burrow. Pretty cool, huh? My gosh. And so if you ever look it over, you feel like, oh. And you look to get it. So I thought it was a small fish there, now it's a big fish. Ah, that's because there's two of them in the nuptial burrow. The female is the smaller one, and the male is the bigger one, and he's got usually a massive looking head because the jawfish are mouth breeders. The male cups up all the eggs in his mouth and protects them in his mouth for about, I don't know, it's 4, 5, 6 days, something like that. And he takes care of them in that process. So he'll come up out of his burrow. Normally he'll hang a little bit low at that point in time. And he'll look into the current a little bit and then go. And he's spitting the eggs out to try to clean them, aerate them, or oxygenate them, and then sucks them back in and then goes back down to his hole. Really, really pretty cool to see that. And if you ever see something with kind of a big head hanging kind of low, look to see if there's any sort of stripes like this underneath this. Because this is what's happening. You see spreading his gills apart, his jaw apart, and you see like two little lines right down from the chin down to the throat. Now you notice that, hey, take a look at that, it's a little bit longer, let's see what you got.
I have a question
Yes.
about that. Do they reuse burrows? Like if, so the male and the female get together in their burrow, do others fish use the?
Yes, I've seen
the
other fish go into different of those burrows because they in a big community like that. One will go out and the other will, some of them will run back in. So yes, I believe they steal each other's burrows and whatnot, but I have.
Sort of like shells.
Right, and maybe as one dies, they renovate and move it on,
I think if the male swords, you'll see him come out on twilight dive to go into his old burrow. Whatever.
The doghouse, it's in the doghouse.
So,
How many eggs, like, you say they hold the eggs, like,
yeah,
talking like
I
5,
don't
10?
like, no, they're little tiny things, they probably have a clutch of maybe 30, 40 eggs.
Okay.
Okay, so
Lot.
gelatinous clutch,
Yeah.
and if you see get some photographers taking some really good pictures, in some cases you can see where they turn dark. When they're turning dark, that's the fish inside maturing.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
But
Is there
they're
a
kind of
question over
stuck
here,
together.
Cindy, did you have a question?
No, this is sarcastic comment. This bar is rocking, don't. If this bar is rocking, don't come a knocking.
Yeah, there you go. That's actually right. So that's my story about,
Jawfish.
yeah, jawfish. Now, the oddfish, bottom dwellers, the flounder, the pipefish, the frogfish, scorpion. We all know what a flounder is, right? They move along. We normally find the peacock flounders down there. You can find some brown flounders in Chipmunk.
Peacock always has a.
Yeah, it's got a little. The interesting thing about a flounder is that, of course, you see him, he's always laying on one side. And if you look at him, he's got coloration and whatnot on the top side. You look at the bottom side, it's all plain white, right?
Yeah.
But when the fish was born, he was born this way. He had an eye on one side and an eye on the other. But in the course of his maturity, I'm sure within several weeks probably, the eye migrates from one side to the top. So now he's got two eyes that look almost like little, periscopes type thing, and they look around independently and whatnot, and they take this shape or this attitude on their side, and then they have the one pectoral fin that sticks up like this. They can blend into almost anything when they don't really change colors, but they change because of their spotting and because they can lighten and darken. They can sort of blend in with almost anything that's down there, and so they can easily be on the sand somewhere and you don't see them. You have to sort of get the idea where you know what the shape is.
Yeah.
I mean, you see a little bit of a shape that looks like a flounder. Look a little bit closer, and you'll probably find the flounder. Let's see. Scorpion fish. What scorpion fish are, right? Don't want to be touching, messing with them. They're not very fast. You can probably take them on the jaw. They wouldn't do anything. But they do have these spines, so you don't want to be stepping on them or anything like that. Be careful. And then, of course, we have the trumpet fish, poppers, triple
Wait,
fish.
what's a bat fish? Tell us what a bat
A
fish.
batfish.
Got a cape.
Yeah,
bat-
a
mobile.
batfish. Batfish is kind of a bulbous head. He, the ones I've seen have like red lips, okay? and they are just elongated on the back end. And, but they're mostly like, more like a scorpion, not a scorpion fish. A frog, not a frogfish, what's the other one? Splendid,
Toadfish.
huh? Toadfish, more like a toadfish, okay?
Why do
But,
they
but
call
these
it
will be right
backfish?
on the surface, whereas a
Since they
toadfish
walk.
tends to curl back up into the reef
On there.
and picks out. Okay.
Thanks, Chip. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
thank you. So we have those, and we all know drums, right? Like drums, okay? The big ones are pretty good sized fish. And the little ones are so cool because they have this dorsal fin that comes down like this and then right into the fish itself, and then off the tail. It's a big crescent tail. Okay? And there's several different species of those. There's the jackknife as well as the drums, but they look kind of like, they're very cool. They will deposit these little youngsters in a crevice in the reef, and they'll be there for 6 to 8 weeks as they grow up. And so if you know where they are, Dive Master knows where they are, you can take you down. There's 3 of them right over there. I'll just go over to see them, you know. And they'll be there, and they might be there for 6 to 8 weeks as they grow up before they start to sell off.
Another one that's not cooperative to take a picture of, because they are flitting back and forth, back and forth.
Cooperative.
If you
They go in a figure-8 pattern. So if you watch their pattern, you can catch them because they do split. So if you take your time. You can see that it's a figure-8 and you. can
Patience
catch
is a
them already.
virtue.
You
Be
sit, lay
virtuous.
down there, like in the Stanford,
Exactly.
and you wait for everybody to go away,
Yeah.
Right,
and you sit there and take 1,000 pictures,
right.
right? And you get one.
Sometimes
Really
it's hard
pretty
to,
cool.
hard to tell the jackknife from the drum fish.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You have to, I probably have to go back and look at a picture to refresh myself to be able to tell you which one is which.
Okay, so there's no. you don't have a-
They look very much like the juveniles do.
Black on the nose is.
okay.
The adults look significantly different because the drum has got spots on the back and the
And
jackknife
they also
That's
been
right.
small.
is small.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we got eels, of course, you know lots about moray eels and all that stuff. And snake eel, or otherwise known as Mike.
Short-tailed Gordon.
There you go. There are plenty of them down at Bonaire. And I was there once when. That's another story. At any rate. Oh, no, this part of it. I went down with a young lady friend at the time, and we were just hanging out. I don't know if I'm gonna scuba diving. I don't think I could do it. I don't wanna do that, okay? So during the later part of the week, I was not an instructor at that time. And I'm glad that I wasn't. But anyway, we talked her into doing a little discover. She said, okay, I'll do the discover, but I don't want to go more than 15 feet. I don't want to go more than 15 feet, and I don't want to see an eel. Okay? Famous last words, right? Whenever you don't want to see something, or you do want to see something, say you don't, just demand that you don't see it, and you'll probably see it. So we get down in there and she's with the instructor and she's doing all her stuff. And I see this sharp-tailed eel, and let's get away from that, you know? And then later on the dive, she's like swimming up, and she's literally chasing this fish off the side of the reef at Bonaire. She's down like 40, 50 feet, swimming along, catching her. And so it was kind of crazy. The idea that she didn't want to see it. He ultimately saw it and died, but she didn't want to go deeper than 15 feet, but she got so caught up with the fact that she was there. And 15 feet or 50 feet, we're still only 2 feet off the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of cool. And then of course, you know, the sharks, and rays, those are fish primarily, but they are different than all the other fish. And why is that?
Cartilage. Yeah.
Cartilage, they're said to be elasmobranchs is the name, and they don't have bone structure, they don't have bony fish structure, they have pretty cool. The sharks have got, and the rays have got all these crazy propagation systems, or there are some sharks that are born live, some sharks are putting eggs and hung up for the eggs to mature. Some are in the womb and they They survive in the womb, not because they're connected by an umbilical cord or anything like that, but because they eat their brethren. They eat the others that are ingested. And or if they don't have that, then the shark mother will continue to excrete eggs for them to eat. And they eats that. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff like that down there. So if you ever get around to studying some of these different habits, it's pretty cool. A book that I would encourage you to get is one of those Paul Keeman and Ed Deloche books called Fish Behavior.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Fish behavior. You get the fish ID, and that's really good too. But the fish behavior gives you something to read to understand more about the habitat and stuff like that.
So even the great big ones like the hammerheads, they have no bones.
No, it's all cartilage. So all cartilage.
Hey, Chip, where did goatfish fit in all of that?
Goatfish, you're right. It's in there somewhere, probably in the bottom dwellers type stuff. Goatfish are pretty cool. There's two species that I'm aware of in the Caribbean: the yellow goatfish and the spotted goatfish. And they look a lot like the yellowtail snappers, except their heads are a little bit different. But they can often be confused with them, although they tend to be more near the bottom, and they tend to be more in little juvenile packs. And if they're not swimming, they have a little barbel underneath their chin that they use to stir up the sand and feel for stuff in the sand.
I have a video of that.
Yeah, and they pull up stuff and they go after it. Okay, so let's do a little fish ID class here. What do you think that is?
Crumb.
Fish. Good job. Okay. It's a jack, and notice we're talking about there, the little ridges along the back of the
Blue stripe.
center line. Looks Jurassic to me. That's called a rest. What am I talking about? My brain is not crazy. Maybe we'll give you another barjack. There we go, barjack. The little iridescent blue. What about this? A butterfly fish. Okay, it's a little long snout, and you can see the line down through the eye. And you can look at the back of it, and you can see that the dorsal fin, anal fin, and caudal fin, that's the tail fin, all tend to sort of come together. In most cases, they're more rounded, okay? And if you just say, well, this is, the spot fin here is that little black dot on the back of the dorsal fin. Spot fin butterfly. There's plenty of other species. There's a reef butterfly fish. There's a four-eyed butterfly fish. There's a banded butterfly fish. There's lots of them.
Scrawled filefish?
A scrawled filefish, exactly. And why would they get the name filefish? Their skin is very rough. And when they were captured by folks on sailing vessels back in the day, the skin was used as sandpaper to scrape the deck. Clean the decks, to clean a lot of the algae growing on. How about this one?
Yeah.
Doctor surgeonfish. It's in the surgeonfish family, and the idea of the surgeonfish is you see that little spine at the base of the tail? That is actually a spine. So when he flips his tail and does one of those fit slaps, he can actually scalpel you with it. Hence surgeonfish, okay? And this one would be the ocean surgeonfish. The doctorfish has got some bars on it. And one that we see a lot down there is called a tang. And it's blue, but it's still in the surgeonfish family. And it's got a little yellow deal there, little scalpel there. Oh, this is a beautiful
Beauty.
rock beauty. Yay, rock on. If anybody gets a good picture of a rock beauty, please share it. They are hard to get them to come out. They like hide in the reef. They got the little clown nose up here, the little black nose, and they're part of the angelfish family, actually.
They're related to.
Parrotfish.
Right?
Oh, it's not up here.
How about that?
Spotted.
Balloon fish.
Balloon fish, puffer fish, there's several different names for them. There are lots of different species, but to me, they're just whatever you want to call them. Because you can't tell the difference. They're so cute.
I
They
love
really
their
are.
eyes.
Huh?
I love their eyes.
Tell us about their eyes.
They're the puppy dogs of the ocean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they are the puppy dogs, but if you look at their eyes, all of the little gold flecks, it's like the universe that's right in their eyes.
They're so
Absolutely amazing.
expressive.
And they're really not shy, they'll come right up and,
Yep.
I had a couple who just sit there right in front of you.
Now, normally they see them and they're only like about yay big. Okay, yeah, I've seen them this big,
Yeah,
literally with a head that big around.
Yep.
Okay, it's pretty cool. But yeah, the universe in their eyes,
Yep.
it's like with MIB.
Exactly. Something out of Animal Life.
That's the one. That's the one. Really. Balloon fish. Down here. It's a grunt, yeah. French grunt. I think it's the grunt, right? Okay,
French
French is the grunt, and it is a French grunt, and it's the only grunt where
Because of the yellow stripes from the French's mustard.
the stripes go diagonal.
No, Great Poupon.
The stripes are diagonal. All the other grunts run lateral. Okay, so we think the French are a little bit pretentious, right?
Yeah.
They have that special fancy looking stripes, okay? So that's our French grunt. Queen angelfish, yes, really, really cool.
That's a really nice picture.
And the queen, if you look at them, there's the crown is right there at the top of the head there. It's iridescent blue and cobalt blue in the center with little spots on it. That's the crown. If it doesn't have the crown, it is a blue angelfish. And this is a
Blue
blue
Chromie.
promise. Really cool. They normally all around the reef. They tend to hang close to the reef. You can generally tell them because they have a very sharp tail like that. They move it pretty rapidly when they move. There's a cousin that they have, which is the brown chromis, which tends to be bigger. It has a little yellow spots on it, and it will generally be 2 to 3 feet off the reef when you see them, although they can be mixed together. This is Nassau grouper. These your guys were considered endangered for a long period of time. And they're now, I think, off that endangered list, which is a good news. And the big problem with the group was that they, although they can mate singularly, 1-to-1, they tend to want to mate in aggregation. They have fish orgies. But they would come by some design to these specific places in the ocean, and that would be where they hold these
Hey, man,
festivals.
we have a party.
And they would come in groups of 50, 100, 200, 500 fish coming and spawning all together in groups.
Is that why they call it groupers?
Huh?
Is that one of our fishermen that showed up on top?
Yeah. I hear your
Is
question.
that why they call them groupers?
They could be. So, the fishermen, of course, figured this out, and so it became easy to drop in a big old seine net, pull the sucker up and pull up 500 or 600. It's massive. Everybody's had grouper sandwiches and whatnot. They're good fish to eat, right? That's a big thing. So at any rate, there's other types of groupers besides the Nassau. But so they shut that down. They identified that. They said nobody can fish in these areas anymore. And the fishing made a pretty big comeback. So grouper, this is your peacock flounder, which we talked about. Okay, there's the ventral fin sticking up, or the pectoral fin sticking up, and there's 2 eyeballs. You can see the ones who have migrated across the top.
It looks so awful.
And these are.
Wait, what does a grouper eat? And how does it eat like that? Like
Flounder.
The flounder.
give me the flounder.
They're bottom feeders.
I think
They're bottom feeders, so
What do you feed them?
They probably have algae and stuff.
Probably so, or copepods and small little shrimp and stuff like that. It finds on the sand probably.
So,
This is a parrotfish, right? The obvious scales indicate that.
That's the stoplight.
And these are all various forms of stoplight parrotfish. This is a very favorite fish. First of all, what kind of fish is it? I can remember family.
Yellow.
Got a sloping head. And a large body. Tend to be a snapper, okay? It's a snapper shape, generally speaking. And it's got yellow on it to remind you that it's
Oh, school.
going to school. So it's a schoolmaster. And you'll find them sometimes solitary and sometimes in small groups hanging out, and they're pretty cool to hang with. Really great. This is the tang that we talked about earlier as part of this, the surgeonfish family. And there you have a little spine at the back. It looks a lot like that ocean doctor fish or the surgeonfish. And this would be the squirrelfish. There's several different species of squirrelfish: short spine, long spine, reef squirrelfish. Like, but if you know a squirrelfish, you probably got it. I think this is probably just long spine squirrelfish. Yeah, there it is. Note the big eye, so it's easier to see, gets more light in at night.
Isn't there a big eye squirrelfish also?
The big eye in that family, and it doesn't look quite like that. And it usually is, you'll find them up under the reef or in wrecks and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're hard to find, yeah.
This is
Very
very
fast.
fast, okay? Swim upside down. All right, okay. Swim upside down.
I didn't know that about them, that they actually,
A lot of fish will do that as well. Orient themselves to the substrate that they're next to.
that's a damsel, sometimes a damsel. Oh, is that a juvenile?
Huh?
Is that a juvenile?
No, this is a full adult. This is probably like, you know.
They live in our little.
Yeah.
Blue dots just look like they're neon lights.
They're so cute.
This is a yellow-tailed damsel, right? Now, the little ones, the little teeny ones, the yellow isn't pronounced. The tail, if you can see it, it's so tiny,
Yeah.
is white, or it's clear,
Yeah.
it's like translucent. But the body is like this rich blue with all these spots all over it. Sometimes called in the trade, the aquarium trade, is a jewel fish. So it really is pretty cool. And they tend to hang out until they grow up a little bit. So if you're down in one area and coming back from the safety spot, they're normally in the shallows somewhere. You can find a little coral head and come in and say hello to the little jewel fish there, and then come back the next day and say hi again. You know, it's kind of cool. Everybody seems to want to go to a new site. I've been on all sites hundreds of times, and every time I see something new, and I also see something the same, which is pretty cool. It makes it I feel like it's kind of mine now. It's like my garden, not somebody else's garden. You see these down near the bottom a lot, puffing into the sand and low into the sand, and they sort of excavate, and they look for little copepods. They're a really hard body. The bottom, they're kind of triangular shaped. If you're looking at them from the front, they're really kind of like that. Okay, and this is actually very hard. It's like a bony structure. So I've had one like lay in my hand like that, so it's pretty cool. Blue codfish. This
A wrasse, something.
a blue-headed
Blue-headed
rat,
rat.
just think of a cigar, that sort of shape, and that's what it is. Red wrasse. And these are the yellow goatfish.
Oh, yeah, they're barbens, yeah.
They look quite a bit like the
Yellowtail snapper.
Yellowtail snappers. The snappers will have spots across the top, a little slightly different shape, but if you're not really close to them, they don't have the barbels. And if you're not really close to them, you can confuse them. And sometimes they'll actually be together. Trumpet fish. They're really pretty cool. They have different colorations on their face. Some will be blue, some will be yellow. Pretty cool to see that one upside down. Yes,
Tuck in next to like a fan.
Yeah, they're hunters, they're hunters.
And like those hybrid behind them come out, grab something.
they'll do that with groupers and other fish too. They hunt together, okay? Where, the trumpet fish will be over top, looking for whatever the grouper should miss, and then come to and grab it. Sometimes, they tell me, I've not witnessed it personally, that they will hunt in combination with a eel. Who knew, right? And the eel will wind its way in and out the reef, okay, at the coral head, and the fish comes running out to escape the eel. There's a trumpet fish to get to him, right, and snap right up and right up, and then he gets past the trumpet fish, then the grouper can get him, suck him in, and he goes, oh, can't go that way, right back into the eel. So it's like a triumvirate there.
What's in the top right corner?
That is opening his mouth,
Yeah, they suck
and
them
he
in.
doesn't sort of suck stuff in, just like a grouper does. And there are hunters, and what Chris was saying is, if you see sometimes a bunch of gorgonians,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
hanging right in there.
Yeah.
Almost like, I'm
Pretending
not
to be
here,
a,
just
Right.
hanging out with the gorgonians.
pretending to be a branch.
Yeah, I'm not a trumpet fish, I'm a gorgonian.
This is not a fish, it's part of the damselfish family. Sergeant Major, and these two guys are pugnacious.
Yeah, don't forget.
And this is a basic Sergeant Major, they will darken up and become almost purplish looking, dark gray and blue type of thing. And that's called the night major, and I'm told that that's usually a male who's guarding eggs. And if you're down in Bonaire again, you just want to see almost everything in Bonaire, right?
Oh, yeah.
They will smear their eggs over like one of that wreck rock on the Captain Don's
Yeah.
dock.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
I have video of that.
We love salt here too.
Yeah, so they'll make a big thing of these eggs, okay, and then males will sit there and defend them, okay? And sometimes they have to work pretty hard because there's marauding groups of wrasses and other things that will come in and try to get them. So it's kind of fun to watch that, and when you're guarding them, if you go by them, they'll pick them out and snap your earlobe. Southern stingray, yeah, really cool stuff.
With a diver in the background.
Diver in the background, I like that. Always nice to take, if you're taking photography, it's always great to get person in the shot with it, you know what I mean? I mean, the small stuff you really can't, but if you can get it, all the person is now shows the activity and the things that have massage. And finally, this is
Red lip thing.
Red lip blending.
Red Lip Blending, one of my favorites, right off the dock in Bonaire, you'll find them all over the steps down there. They're really pretty cool, changing all dark, just dark on the front and kind of white on the back. So that is the culmination of my little quizzy thing. I hope you enjoyed it. And I would encourage you to check out reef.org, okay? ReefNet got merged with reef.org, so that's not really there anymore, but reef.org, if you go down and become a member, I believe it's free to be a member, but you can pay to become a member too. And they have all sorts of fish ID toolkits, courses and whatnot that you can do online. They have fishing honors, they call them, so they'll talk about one particular fish, all its habits and whatnot. And so it's really cool. You can see them live at 8 o'clock at night. Once or twice a month, or you can go into their archives and pull them up and watch them whenever you like. So it's really pretty cool to just sit back and just say, well, I'd like to learn about something, or go and use their database down there.
They have on the reef.org, they have flashcards that make it a lot of fun and
Quizzes, yeah. little quizzes.
easy to pick up the different fish.
They do a lot of fish and R's too, so similar to this of, it would be a 45-minute to an hour presentation. They do them live. A lot of them are recorded that you can go back and check other ones, but for different regions. So to learn more about the individual fish, their behavior, what are the markings that you're looking at and keying in to identify those specific fish. So lots of resources there.
Button on button. We know that one? Button on button. You get a snapper and it's got a little black button, sort of like on its backside, back up here on the top. That's a mutton snapper. Button on the mutton. There you go. You get that from Reef and other things, okay? Anyway, thank you very much. I didn't even go quite as long as I did, but I'm glad I got some participation. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
All right, so next month, what better way to spend Valentine's Day than with all of your diving friends, right? So February 14th will be our next meeting. We are at Cardinal Hall. March will be back here, and we are going to share the love of diving. Absolutely. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and a great month. Bye.